So the Exodus is kind of over-ish, you know? I mean, we have left Egypt, we've been around in the desert, but the journey is still going on. We're still on a journey, we're still doing this, kind of, you know? And God just kept teaching us new things along the journey every day, showing us miracles, you know, teaching us stuff, providing for us when we needed it. It's quite amazing, actually. And we have, you know, He's given us everything we needed along the way. Manna, water. He helped us sort out our relationships with each other and our friendships. But then, there's things I don't really understand. Because it's like, have you ever thought about where God lives? Like, what is it like where God is? What does it look like? And where is it really? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about that? No? Some of you maybe have, some of you maybe haven't. But I have thought about that. You know, does God, maybe God lives in heaven. And maybe He has this big heavenly palace with a huge sofa and a golden toilets and all that. Or maybe God lives here on earth and just has a normal house like you and me. Or maybe God is like a little bit in heaven and a little bit on earth and kind of like hovering in between. What do you think? Like, okay, I need you to help me now a little bit, okay? So I want you to raise your hand if you think God is in heaven. Okay? Okay, take it down again. Take it down again. Raise your hand if you think God lives on earth. Okay? Okay, you can take it down. Raise your hand if you think God is in church. Okay, take it down. Raise your hand if you think God lives at home. Raise your hand if you think God is in Africa. Okay, raise your hand if you think God is at this camporee. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you something which I think is very weird. Okay, because some friends of mine, I have a friend. Yeah, so I have a friend, and they have a God in their village, and their God looks like this. Okay? And they call their God for Ipado. That's the name of this God. Ooh. Take it on this side. Okay, and they took this God. It looks exactly like this. And they built, my friend and the whole village decided that they were going to build a house for this God, for Ipado. So they built this huge house. It was the biggest house in the village and the nicest house in the village. And it had many rooms. And in the biggest and nicest room they had, you know, they picked up their God, took him under their arms, and then they walked into the house. And, you know, to the biggest and nicest room. And then they put their God there. He doesn't really sit well, does it? We'll put him over here then. Like this. Okay, so they put their God there in the biggest and nicest room. And then, what happened then was that every time they wanted something with their God, they had to go to it. So they decided what God was going to do, what he was going to think, what he was going to eat. They decided just that God is there. Yeah? And then every time they wanted something from God, maybe they wanted a chat, they wanted to worship, they wanted to pray, they just wanted to be in God's presence, they had to come to God and sit down with God and be like, hey God, I think that's a little weird. You know, it's like they kind of forced their God to be in that place. And then they said, so every time they needed something, they would be like, hey God, I need you to do this for me. I come to you and you need to do this. I want you to answer my prayers. You know? And I'm just so glad that my God is not like that. You know? Because we have, the Israelites, all of us, we have been working on this huge building project recently. And we're building this tent. It's a big tent, it's massive. It's going to be great, by the way. And we're building it because God told Moses, or God actually showed Moses what this tent is going to look like up on the holy mountain on Mount Sinai. Because God said that He wants to do exodus from heaven to live with us, to live among us kind of thing. But I think that's kind of difficult because I don't really understand why we need a tent for that necessarily. So there's a man, he's called Oholiab. Can you say that? No, you need to do better. Oholiab. Okay. Do you know who he is? No. So let me tell you. Oholiab, he is the project leader. So he is the one who is like in charge of building this tent. Okay, so maybe he can help us to understand a little bit more, because I'm not really sure. Okay? So and I think he's here somewhere, but I don't really know where. So I think we all need to call for him, okay? So I count to 3, and then we all shout, Oholiab, as loud as we can. Okay? Okay? Are you ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Oh! That was quite good, but I don't think it was loud enough for him to hear it. So I think we have to do it again. Okay? Are you ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3. We do it again. We try again. Okay? You guys were very good. Do the same again, but you need to be a little louder, okay? I think he's going to hear us this time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Did you just call for me?
Yeah, we did. Because you know this tent that you're building, right?
Yeah.
So, why are we building it? Because I think it's super cool that we're building it so that God can be with us and He wants to live together with us and be together with us all the time. But why does it take so long? Why is it so big?
Wait, okay. I don't know. I can't answer all those questions at once. It's a bit too much. Let me start with, you know that God wants to live with us.
Yeah, that
and that's
part
why
I
He
understand.
wants to,
that part I understand.
Yeah, you got that. And so what's your question then? Why?
Why?
The tent. I mean, there's a big tent, and He wants to live there with us, but He also has some other things that He wants us to know about.
Things like what?
Well, things like, can you help me? Take out the schematics, and I will show you, okay? I think that will be easier. Okay, so this is the sanctuary. And, the first area here is the courtyard, and you enter from here. And the first thing is a big altar. Well, maybe not big, but it's big. And on the altar, we will make sacrifices to God in order to get forgiveness for sins.
Okay.
And the next one, the circle one, that's the ceremonial basin, wash basin. so that we can clean ourselves and so that we can go to God.
So that's kind of like baptism then.
That's really good, yes. Like baptism, be cleansed from our old self and to be clean before God. Exactly. And now, you were talking about the tent, weren't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the part I don't really
This
understand.
is the actual tent. And up here, there's a 7-branched candlestick with lights on it, obviously. But the thing is, it's oil candles. I'm not sure what you guys are using. You have those flashy lights of yours. Well, anyway, it's oil candles. And it's lit all the time to light up the place and for us to be a reminder for us to be lights to the people around us. So that's the candlestick. And on the opposite side, it's the table of showbread. It's bread, and that symbolizes the physical bread, the manna, and the spiritual bread, the law that God provides. And we have a curtain here, and before the curtain there's an altar of incense and smoke going up to God. And it's basically where we can meet God. It's where the priest can talk to God and communicate with God. This was the holy place, but now we enter into the most holy place, the Holy of Holies, where the Ark of the Covenant is, where the throne of grace is. So that's basically the sanctuary in a nutshell.
That's kind of cool.
It is. It's very cool.
Well, thank you for explaining this to us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Is it okay if I leave, or do you have more questions?
No, I think it's okay.
I have a lot to do.
I understand that.
Okay, thank you. You can. Do you want that one as?
I think well, I will leave this here. I think that's
Yeah,
good.
do that. You can come to me when you're done, because I really need your help. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. So, So why? I think kind of what this means is that, that God lives with us, yeah? But then, the altar in the beginning here, as I said, that must be forgiveness. That we can be given by God. So what I need you to do is that when I point here, I need all of you to say forgiveness. Okay? Okay, that's good enough for now. And the next one, the wash basin thing. He said that was like, what did he say that was like? Do you remember? Baptism. Because that's where God can make us clean. We can become free. Yeah? We are cleansed. Well done. Okay. So the next one is that we come into the holy place in here. And that's where I think it gets a little more complicated, to be honest. But he said that the lights up here, that they were to shine all day, every day, for everybody. And you know what I think that means? Because I believe that if I have the power of faith inside of me, right? And if I then allow God to use it in some way, I can shine for God wherever I go. So God can let his light shine through me, kind of thing. So that other people maybe see glimpses of who God is as well. And I think that's what we call like to witness or witnessing. Do you agree? Oh, no, you don't. Yes, he agrees. Okay. So witnessing. What do you say then? Okay, good. You're starting to get this now. So the next thing is like the bread over here. And I think it's so cool that when we needed it, God was there. When we needed food, God gave us food. And when we messed up in our friendships, God gave us some advice on how to live. So he gave us the law or the 10 commandments that we talked about earlier today. Do you remember? So that's also kind of cool. So I think that just proves to me how faithful God is. So I would call that for faithfulness. Okay, good. And then we move on. And that's the altar of incense. That's what I said. And that's where the good smell comes from. Because in this tent, they say it's going to be a really good smell, like all the time. And I think God likes that smell, but he likes what he means even more. Because that means that I can come to God. God will meet the priest, and he'll meet every one of us and talk to us. And we can have a conversation with God just like we have a conversation with another friend. And they call it prayer. And that's kind of cool. Did you get it? Faithfulness. And the best part of this whole thing comes in this one. Because that's where the 10 commandments are kept. That's where God's throne is. And the thing is, when they finished this, there was a cloud that came. And it was like the cloud kind of like sat on the tent and then filled the whole thing. And then it came a sharp light going straight through it. And then I believe that, the light came and then it went in there. Because this is kind of the throne of God. This is kind of where God is all the time when he is in that tent. And what I think is so cool is that the throne of God is kind of, we can call it grace, okay? Again? Grace. Yes, grace. And grace is kind of like the love that God gives us and the hope that God gives us. Okay, do you remember all of them? Let's see. Good. That's impressive. You're very good. And I think it's so cool. Because this is why God wants to live with us, okay? Because God, he wants to live with us because he wants to give us. Are you with me? God wants to give us. And through forgiveness, for us to get forgiveness, he will cleanse us through. And when we are baptized, or when we are cleansed by God, we get a chance to be God's light here in the earth through. Yeah, and then we also experience this and get courage to witness because of God's, that we can see through both the physical and the spiritual. And then, when we need God, or whenever we want to talk to God, we can just use prayer. And then all of this ties up in the love of God, which is, yeah? And that's why it's so cool. And then, this is the one thing, because when we move, because we are on this journey, right? We haven't reached the promised land yet, but we're on this journey. So when God tells us to move on, it's so cool, because then we pack the tent up and we take it with us. It's like we take God with us wherever we go. And then when we settle down, we build a tent, and we have the tent in the middle of our camp to remind us that God lives in the middle of our camp. God is always there with us. And I think that's so cool, because that must also mean, I don't think God is, or let me start over. I don't think God is limited to this tent. Because just the same way that God lives in the middle of our camp, I can take God with me. And God lives in the middle of my heart as well. And I can take him with me everywhere I go. Because that's the kind of God that I believe in. So we have God in the middle of our camp and in the middle of our hearts. Because of all of this.